Today we will be making it all the way to the end of the season here in year number 6 at the San Francisco Giants franchise here on MLB The Show 24. We'll be going through August and September today leading up to the postseason, which we hope to be participating in. Last time around we went through the summer months of June and July, and the team really was not all that great during this stretch, to be completely honest, especially during the month of June. Really did not play all that well, and then July was very up and down for the most part as well. But now that we've made it through the draft, which we will be looking at our prospects ratings today, along with the All-Star break, it's really all hands on deck here for a playoff spot, and that includes the trade deadline, which we'll be going over within the next couple of minutes. As it stands now, we're tied with San Diego for first place in the division in a very competitive National League. The Pirates are currently the number 1 seed. Atlanta leads the East. And then as you can see, the wild card race is very tight. We're currently 4.5 games in, given that Arizona will be the first team out. We only ended up with 3 All-Stars this year, despite the fact that, our team is quite good, even despite the cold stretch. But Sandy Alcantara makes it for a 4th time. Camilo Doval, his 6th appearance, his 5th of the series. Only time he missed was all the way back in year number 2. And then Tommy Rogers, back-to-back years for the young slugger. So as we look at this team going into the trade deadline, I'm not really sure how we can make this team far better than it actually is. I think in terms of offense, maybe we could look to add another piece, but I don't know if it's a necessity. We do have some guys getting older, and it's showing in terms of their ratings. Ian Happ is still good, but he's taken a step down, and he's only a 77 overall. J.P. Crawford's contact and power have both taken a major hit, but I think he still provides us a lot of value in terms of his plate discipline, doesn't strike out, plays good defense, and is a solid veteran for us. I think if we make a big move, it would probably make more sense to add pitching. The rotation's been inconsistent. Kyle Harrison and Fernando Molina both have not lived up to their expectations. Chase Dollander, meanwhile, has been a revelation for us, and then Scott Rios has taken over the number 5 spot for Walker Buehler. We definitely have to add a bullpen arm or two. We obviously lost Jojo Romero and Felix Bautista in the offseason, and we've had trouble replacing them, particularly Romero. We've counted on Genesis Cabrera to be our number 1 lefty, and he has not done that. His ERA is in the 6s. I do want to talk about Dollander, though. He has been unbelievable this year, coming over from the Rule 5 draft from the Rockies, who gave up on him, and understandably so. He looked like a bust. But now he's the front runner for the Cy Young. We'll see if he keeps it up now that he is fully in our rotation, but it has been really fun to see. So even though I'm not really sure what direction we want to go with in terms of how we're going to make a move, we definitely have to, given that this roster core is aging and most of these guys only have a year or 2 left on their contract. If we take a look at the trade block, there are some solid players here, no major superstars per se, but particularly offensively, some good players. And as I mentioned, I wouldn't hurt maybe adding one more bat. I like the depth we have, but I would say the lower rated guys haven't quite been as good as they were last year. Ian Happ, mutual option on his contract, probably not going to accept it, but he's still having a good year. And then J.P. Crawford's a weird case. He only has 8 home runs. He's only hitting .218, but look at the on-base percentage. He has a 15% walk rate and walks more than he strikes out. In terms of guys with regular playing time, he's 4th in the MLB in terms of walk rate. So his .350 on-base percentage looks a lot better than his average would indicate. Leody Taveras has been inconsistent as well. A whole bunch of guys have been up and down, but we will be getting Kyler Rodriguez back within the next month or so, and he's been playing well, so that'll be a nice addition for us. And then in terms of pitching, can we add another arm to the rotation, given the inconsistencies of Harrison and Molina? We've definitely got to add an arm or two to the bullpen, particularly a lefty. As I said, we put a lot on Genesis Cabrera's plate coming into the year, and he certainly has not met the expectation or anywhere close to that. So let's talk about our first trade because it is a big one. We will be trading away one of our star players to a rival. Kyle Harrison will be traded to the Atlanta Braves in a 1-for-1 swap with Spencer Strider. We're going to add a couple of prospects in there, but the preface of this deal is Harrison for Strider. Both guys are impending free agents at the end of this season for what it's worth. So the reason why I'm doing this is because, well, I think Spencer Strider is better. If we look at Kyle Harrison, It's been a roller coaster with him over this series. We've got to start with the health. He's been healthy this year, but he's missed a lot of time over the last couple of years. Pretty much a full season's worth of action since 2025. He only really has one season where he's been healthy the entire way and really good. That was 2026. The past couple of years, he's been good but not great, and he's missed a lot of time during both of those seasons. This year, he's been healthy. The production has not been as good. So I'm willing to take the gamble here with Strider, who also has had a hard time staying healthy, missed practically all of 2025, has missed time in each of the last 2 years, and like Kyle Harrison, he has not been great this year, or last year, for that matter. But I think the body of work with Strider is why I would rather him. His ERA for his career is in the mid-3s. Kyle Harrison's, meanwhile, is at around 4. His career WAR is at 30. Kyle Harrison, I think, was barely above 10. Harrison is 3 years younger, and he's a lefty, the biggest reason why Atlanta's doing this. But I think the gap between Harrison and Strider is enough to make this worth it. Strider would want $27 million per season in an extension, around the same as Kyle Harrison. I'm not going to pay it now, but it's an interesting idea for the future. All right, we've got another trade here. We're adding our lefty to the bullpen, and it's Jojo Romero, a familiar face. If you remember, we never wanted to let him go. We tried to sign him in free agency. He ended up going to Minnesota, where he has been horrible. In 21 innings, he has an ERA at around 5 and a whip at 1.4. He's played better over the last month or so, but he has not been good at all. And Minnesota's trying to get out of this contract. He has 3.5 more years left. Well, I would be willing to take on the deal because I would have been happy to pay him this anyway. And I think him returning to San Francisco, where he has obviously thrived, would really help him going forward. Now, he's not going to be cheap just because he's struggling this year. We can't forget about his overall body of work. So we're going to have to give up a good pitching prospect in Omar Jimenez, who has been balling in AAA. The thing is, I think his ceiling is kind of limited, and there's not really a spot for him in our rotation, but he's a really good player. I'm excited for him to get an opportunity in Minnesota. I'm willing to take the gamble, though, with Romero. I know he has not been good this year, but we saw firsthand last year in the playoffs what he's capable of. So if we were to add a position player, I'd like it to be a shortstop, someone who plays good defense. And I think given the offensive season that Oswald Peraza has had in Milwaukee, this could make sense for us. 12 triples, we talked about that in the last episode, but he's having a career year. 320 average, OPS above 900, WAR around 4. Now it's a gamble. Outside of his first season, he's never had an OPS higher than like 730. His value is at its max. But I'm willing to, again, take the gamble that he's going to keep this going. J.J. Green is another really good pitching prospect, but if we want to make a push for the World Series, we've got to give guys like him up. Khalil Watson as well, talented infielder. And then Genesis Cabrera. The Brewers feel like they can fix him, just like what we thought when we got him 4 years ago. And we're right. We did fix him, and now he's broken again. We're going to add Darryl McMahon as well, but obviously Peraza, the big part of this deal. He's also a free agent at the end of the season, so it's not a guarantee he'll be back, but I want to take the chance on him. And then a smaller deal here, shortstop Iverson Arteaga going to the Cubs for lefty Lucas Gilbreth. I wanted to add another lefty to the pen. Jojo Romero is not enough, and Gilbreth is having a career year in Chicago. Not to mention, he's a free agent at the end of the year as well, so it's not a long-term financial impact for us, and we don't have to give up multiple high-end prospects. So a busy deadline for us for sure. We made some big splashes pitching-wise. We added to the lineup. We do have to send 2 guys down, and we're going to start with Elijah Warren, who I think has given us some good things this year. I'm excited to see him back in the future, but with Peraza, we just don't really have a spot for him. And then Walker Buehler. I think we're going to call him back up in September, but again, we don't really have a spot for him. He can mentor some of the younger guys in AAA. So this is what the team will now look like. Oswald Peraza will regularly play shortstop. Brendan Donovan can play second and third base. Ian Happ and J.P. Crawford will have less on their plate defensively. Strider joins the rotation, while obviously Romero and Gilbreth will slot into the bullpen. I'm not going to have any trades around the rest of the league. Obviously, I want to get through the season quickly. I'm going to let the game do what it wants. The game is usually somewhat aggressive during the trade deadline, so hopefully we have some splashes. We're going to skip right through August with going through the trade deadline and studs and duds of the year. I think I want to get through August especially quickly. We do have a much more challenging September with some big games. I do want to mention, though, that we lost this first game against Oakland 13-3. The Dollander Cy Young push might be off. It's also time to sign our draft picks. We still have a few guys we have not agreed to contracts with, and we won't get one for second-rounder Charles Otto. I feel like the game kind of glitches out of him throughout the signing process for him and fourth-round catcher Jared Reed. The game didn't let us up our offer, and they kept saying no. So I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to do with them, but for right now, they are not here. Stephen Yu, our first rounder, I really like him. Look at the contact ratings, the plate skills. That'll do. He's a guy who's going to likely make a big league impact for us as soon as next year. The other picks, not that spectacular. We've had a lot of deep drafts in this series. This was not one of them. I do want to mention the number one pick, Guillermo Castellano. He is a generational prospect, so the Yankees will be getting their next face of the franchise with the 18-year-old Dominican catcher. So right out of the deadline, we did not do so well. We got swept in a 2-game set against Oakland, only took 1 of 3 against Cincinnati, so that's 1-4 since the deadline, and we're certainly looking to change that here going into this series on the road, 4-game set against the Nationals. Brendan Donovan is a 10-game hit streak on the line in a tie game as well, so it's a big spot in the top of the 8th inning. We don't want to fall behind in this division, so we've got to start winning some series. As Donovan puts it on the ground to first, and it looks like the hit streak will be over as the first baseman, Bobby Dalbec, makes the play. Well, as it turns out, we'll get one more opportunity in the top of the 10th, and this is a huge spot. 2 outs, runner on second. We've got to drive in this run or else the Nats are going to have a golden chance to win the game. Grounded to short, going to be close. Not in time! Beats out the runner, hit streak stays alive, and more importantly, the other guys on offense have a chance to drive in a run or two and potentially win this game. We'll see if they can do it, and sure enough, they would add more than a run or two on the board. Tommy Rogers, 2-run triple, Jun-Hoo Lee with a single, and then Stone Garrett, the former National, with the icing on the cake, a 2-run homer as we end up winning this one 6-1. Hopefully the start of a promising set, as our team's been very mediocre since the start of June. We've got to get it going, and sure enough, we would take 3 of 4 against the Nationals. Now against Detroit, 9-8, bottom 8, Blake Sable's at third. We've got the potential winning run at second, and it's J.P. Crawford. Up the middle, center field, base hit. 1 run scores. Second looks to tie. The throw, not in time. That's Garrett. A 2-run single for J.P. Crawford. Even as he's gotten older, his offense has fallen off the face of the earth, but he can still give us some big swings. Oswald Peraza now up, the new addition. His OPS has gone down about 50 points over the last week since the trade, but he flies out to right. It is caught. Ultimately, the swing by Crawford would be enough for us to win the game. 10-9, a high-scoring thriller, but the offense really produces their 14 hits. Everybody 8. Home runs for Rogers, home runs for Sable. Sable had 3 hits, so did Garrett. We ended up losing the last 2 games, though, and that brings us to this series against Atlanta. We already played against the Braves in the last episode, so I don't want to play them again. But, obviously, there's a big storyline with Kyle Harrison and Spencer Strider facing their former teams. We're currently in second in the division. The Dodgers have overtaken us for first. So after winning the first game against Atlanta, we'll hop into Spencer Strider's start against his old team. Led up 3 in the first, but then I guess the nerves calmed down a little bit, ended up with 5 innings of 3-run ball. And we've got a close one, 3-2 here, bottom 8, 2 on, 1 away. A huge at-bat for Jun-Hoo Lee. Just don't put it on the ground, for Christ's sakes. Can they turn 2? Yes, they do. Lee is out at first. He does not agree with it, but Atlanta's infield makes the play, and they would add to their lead. Yordan Alvarez brings home a run, and it's 4-2, but look at this. We've got 2 on, 1 away. Blake Sable, the best clutch hitter on our team, singles into right. We're going to keep the runner at third. Jesus Christ, how are we going to mess this up? The bases are loaded. Tyne runs at second, winning runs at first. It's Stone Garrett up the middle, and it gets by the 2 infielders. Rogers looks to tie. He's safe. Stone Garrett ties it at 4. Griffin Jacks blows the save, and now we've got a chance to win with the go-ahead run in scoring position being Blake Sable. Huge swing for Stone Garrett to tie this game. So that'll bring up Johnny Hackman. He's had a solid season for us. 2 on, one away. Just don't put the ball on the ground. Oh, my God. The Braves turn 2 again. It's a successful inning because we tied the game, but Jesus Christ, we could have walked it off. Now, we will in the 10th instead. Ian Happ brings home the run with a single. Good to see Spencer Strider pitch fairly well against his former team. Kyle Harrison pitched well too. 8 innings of 2-run ball in the very next game. We would end up splitting the series going 2-2. Let's simulate through the rest of the month. Now a series in Oakland. And look at this. Scott Rios has a no-hitter going into the 7th. We'll start with Luis Arraez, a guy who is quite good at getting hits. Flies it into center. There's one. Rios has been very inconsistent. He has a lot of really good starts and a lot of really bad starts, but I like that the high-end flashes are there. Domingo Xaviero rips it into left, and that one's not coming out of the ballpark. The no-hitter and shutout is dead for Scott Rios as Domingo Xaviero, the subscriber-made international free agent signing, with his 26th of the year. We kept Rios in a little while longer in the 7th, and he kind of struggled. So then we took him out, and ultimately we would still get the win by the final score of 4-3. And ultimately we would sweep the A's. Granted, it was just a 2-game set, as that brings us now to this series against the White Sox. Top of the 9th, tied at 4. We've got 2 on, 2 away. Mauricio Fuentes swinging a miss against Lucas Gilbreth, the trade deadline acquisition from Chicago. Let's see if we get a chance to walk it off by chance. We'll go bottom 9, 2 on, 1 away. Golden chance to win this game with Blake Sabol. And look who's the winning run. It's Tommy Rogers at second base. This works out perfectly for us. Sabol lines it to third on the ground. Double play. This team is hilarious. That was the golden chance to win the game, and we did not. Top 10, 2 runners on for the White Sox, including 99 speed Josiah Hernandez against Samuel Basayo. On the ground, could be 2. Murakami to Peraza, back to Murakami. That's how you do it. Taste of your own medicine, White Sox. It feels good to be on the other end of that. And sure enough, we would walk it off. Stone Garrett, the hero again, with a walk-off single. Stone Garrett might be the clutchest player alive when it's not the playoffs. In the regular season, he's money in the 9th inning or later. We're looking for the sweep here against the White Sox. It's 6-5 here, top 8, 2 on, 2 away. Corey Lee flies out to right. It's caught by Leody Taveras. And we would complete the sweep. Would you look at that? We've been inconsistent to start the month, but that's 5 wins in a row. Granted, against the Athletics and the White Sox, who both have been pretty bad this season, but not going to complain. Kyler Rodriguez is back healthy. That is great news. So Brendan Davis will be sent down to AAA. We'll call him back up within the week as we eventually get to a 28-man roster. So we would end up losing out on the win streak, but we would take 2 of 3 against Seattle, and that brings us here to Milwaukee. 6-0 lead. Another hit streak is on the line for Brendan Donovan. His second straight 10-plus hit streak opportunity here in the month of August. This time it's actually not going to happen as he grounds out to third. It still shows how well Donovan has played over the last couple of months. Even with the offense being up and down, it feels like Brendan Donovan has been one of our most consistent players over the last month or two. He is having a really strong season as we would get the win 6-0, and we would take 2 of 3 against Milwaukee. So after not the best start to the month, we are 9-2 in our last 11 games. We're back in first place in the division, granted not by much. The Dodgers are within half a game. We are also currently the number 1 seed. Again, not by much though, as we get set for the month of September. The guy I want to talk about is Munetaka Murakami, who has been on a tear. He was hitting sub 200 pretty much through the All-Star break, but he has really started to heat up. The average is getting closer to 250. He's had an outstanding month of August. As for the pitching, Strider's been not great, but I guess not horrible. Dolander's been solid since moving into a starting role. Jojo Romero has played worse since the trade. That really surprised me. So as we look at September, I want to look at this series against Arizona. The Diamondbacks are having a strong season, firmly in the mix for a wild card spot. So we'll simulate through here against the Marlins, and we trail in this game 1-0. The former Marlins, Sandy Alcantara, with 8 scoreless as Peraza puts it on the ground. The Marlins are only going to be able to get the 1 out, though. with the young closer, Pastor Santos, another subscriber-made international free agent, and a first-time All-Star. Runner at second now for Kyler Rodriguez. He singles it into left, and we're going to keep the runner at third. That being Leody Taveras, who's quite fast with 84 speed. He's the tying run. Kyler Rodriguez, who's also fast, 81 speed, is the potential winning run. Brendan Donovan slaps it into left for a hit. Brendan Donovan, like Blake Sabol, like Stone Garrett, it feels like in a big spot, he's automatic to make a big play. Again, except if it's the playoffs. But in the regular season, he is a machine in these late game spots as the Marlins are going to go back to the bullpen. A rare blown save for Pastor Santos, and he'll be replaced by Touki Toussaint, who looks to keep the game alive for the Marlins with 2 on, 1 away for Tommy Rogers, who puts it on the ground. Can they turn 2? No, they do not, because Tommy Rogers is that fast. So his speed will keep the inning alive. We move the runner over to third. That's Rodriguez, and Jun-Hoo Lee puts it on the ground. I know he wanted to ground into the double play there, but the Marlins only needed 1 out. We do tie the game, so it's not a failure of an inning. As we will move into the 10th, we'll see if we can potentially walk it off. So the Marlins have 2 runners on base here against Mickey Manzanillo. I'm not really sure why he's in such a big spot. We're going to replace him with Edwin Diaz, who has been on fire as of recent. 2.03 ERA. Even though we lost out on Bautista and Romero in free agency, he's been well worth it. He's been better than both of those guys. Nice play at third by Murakami off of the 107-mile-an-hour liner off the bat of Ronald Acuna. Obviously, this Marlins team made a bunch of big moves in the offseason. Acuna, Elly De La Cruz, Tristan Casas, the latter of whom goes down on the slider. What a pitch by Edwin Diaz. We would not score in the bottom half of the 10th, and now here in the 11th, the bases are loaded. We're going to bring in Camilo Duvall, our closer. I want our best reliever here when the Marlins have such a great opportunity to score 3 or 4 runs. So he's got to get us out of this jam. It's Jacob Berry, a guy we know quite well from the Marlins series last year, and he got hit. That's not how you want to let up those runs. It's one thing if he gets a nice hit, but he got hit instead. Victor Mesa Jr. goes down on the cutter for the second out of the inning, and that'll bring up Elly De La Cruz in a huge opportunity here. Full count, don't want to walk him, but instead he singles into left. 1 run scores, second looks to join, and the Marlins lead 4-1 with 2 of these earned runs coming against Edwin Diaz, the other being the extra innings runner. A big 11th inning, though, for the Marlins, as that'll bring up Aaron Eldridge. He grounds it sharply to second. Donovan flips it over to Peraza. Our offense did not have a good game, and it looks like it's finally caught up to us. Can we potentially pull a rabbit out of our hat here in the bottom of the 11th by chance? Well, we're going to have the opportunity. Munetaka Murakami, 2-run homer, and Leody Taveras would reach base. So that now brings up Oswald Peraza with nobody out and a chance to potentially do some damage or potentially end the game! Peraza flips the bat! Walk-off homer! Welcome to San Francisco, Oswald! The Giants win it 5-4. The Marlins scored 3 in the top half. We get 4 in the bottom of the half with a 2-run homer by Murakami, a 2-run homer by Peraza. And the most impressive part about this is that we did it with nobody out. We could have potentially scored more runs there if we wanted to. What a way to start this series. As we now move into the month of September, we've got 2 guys who we're going to have to call up to make it a perfectly even 28-man roster. Brennan Davis, welcome back. It's been a while. And then Walker Buehler will be coming back to the big leagues as well. We split the last 2 games against the Marlins, so we win the series 80-58 going into this 3-game set against Arizona. We're a game ahead of the Dodgers. We are starting to make up a little bit more ground with Arizona, who is 72-66. I chose this first game in particular to play because I want to use Chase Dollander. He's been so good this year. It doesn't seem like he's going to end up winning the Cy Young, but still, going from a Rule 5 draft pick to a Cy Young candidate in the same year is really impressive. And when we picked him, I figured it was a dart throw. Maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't. Now I see him as a long-term piece in the rotation. Let's take a look at his numbers. This is his 11th start of the year. Obviously, was primarily a reliever. 3.54 ERA, 1.26 WHIP. He's going to be facing off against a very strong Arizona lineup, though. Nick Madrigal up with one away as he goes down on the fastball. This team has changed quite a bit over the years. Guys like Ketel Marte, Geraldo Perdomo, both now in Texas. Corbin Carroll still here. He's having a great year as we take a look at Zach Gallen, the veteran righty, who's also stuck around, signed a big extension with the D-backs a few seasons ago. 3.19 ERA, 1.43 whip. Unk still got it as he faces off against Jun-Hoo Lee. He will draw a walk, so a base runner here in the bottom of the first. We'll see if we can score some runs early in this one as Stone Garrett grounds it over to third. Will this be another double play? Yes, it is. 5-4-3. It feels like the 20,000th double play we've grounded into today. I mean, this is getting a little bit ridiculous. Into the second, Christoph Hornsworth, former subscriber made international free agent, belts it down the line. Ground rule double. He's had a really solid season this year for Arizona. Lawler up the middle. What a scoop by Chase Dolander. That'll save a run from being scored. Hornsworth would have been able to make it home as Edgar Caro goes down swinging, and Dolander's able to get out of the inning. Bottom two, Blake Sabol. He draws a walk. Good plate discipline early here from the Giants. We'll see if they can do any damage with him. Sabol now at third, 2 away. Kyler Rodriguez rips a liner, and it's caught. Nolan Arenado, the former Gold Glover. In this case, Unk's really still got it. He's pushing 40. Still making some great plays with the leather. Jonathan Aranda goes down looking here in the third. He's having a great season for Arizona. Jorge Barrosa, not having a great season, goes down on the slider. Chase Dolander is shoving through this lineup right now. They have no answers for him. Bottom three, 1 away. Leody Taveras getting the start, and he goes down on the fastball. Zach Gallen also pitching a really good game. It is a pitching duel right now as we go bottom 4. Stone Garrett rips it into center for a base hit. 109 off the bat. First hit of the game for the Giants. We've been waiting for that big swing, and we'll see if the offense can potentially get something going, start a little fourth inning rally. Blake Sabol launches it into right. If it's fair, it's gone, and it barely stays fair. A 2-run shot for Blake Sabol, and the Giants are on the board first. Has not been a great season for Sabol. I think he's starting to get his power back from the last couple of years, his 17th home run of the year. Still, he hasn't made himself much money, but maybe that helps us. Maybe we end up re-signing him for cheaper. Nonetheless, he's had a good stretch of around a month or two after a really cold start to begin the year. The hits are going to keep on coming, though. Oswald Peraza singles into center. Got off to a really bad start his first week or two here, but I think he has settled in nicely and has turned into a good addition for this lineup. Kyler Rodriguez draws a walk, third of the game thrown by Gallen. 2 on, 2 away. What an opportunity for Brendan Donovan to potentially add to this lead. Donovan 2-2, rips this one into the gap. That should score both runs. Peraza makes it home no problem. Rodriguez rounds third. He waltzes home. It's a 2-run double for Brendan Donovan. A 4-spot here in the fourth for the Giants. A huge inning, and that was after we had nothing going offensively prior. Jordan Lawler in the fifth hits it into the gap. Didn't hit it overly hard, but no one was able to get to it quick enough, and the speedster makes his way over to second despite a quick throw by Stone Garrett. So the Diamondbacks now start the inning with a runner in scoring position. We'll see if they can potentially look to cut into this lead. 3-1 for Jonathan Aranda. He draws a walk. Runners on the corners now. Dolander looking to get out of the jam. Arizona with one swing could be right back in the game or right back out of it. Grounded to first. 3-6-3. They got Barrosa to turn 2, end the inning, and the Diamondbacks score nobody as it remains tied at 5. Great piece of defense by Kyler Rodriguez and friends. Bottom 5, nothing going here for the Giants. We have gone back down to earth after our big fourth inning, as that one is caught off the bat of Stone Garrett. Chase Dolander's still kicking it, and as long as he continues to play well, I don't really see a reason to take him out of this game. His pitch count's in a pretty good spot. Taylor Walls goes down on the curveball. Another punch out for Dolander. The swing and miss stuff really showing here. That's his 6th of the game. Now Corbin Carroll, who's having a great year, Hasn't been the case today. He sends this one into left, though, for a hit. The Diamondbacks have a lot of speedsters on this team, Carroll obviously included, so he's on now with 2 away, and we'll see if Arizona can potentially do some damage. Christoph Hornsworth is up, count is even, 2-2, and he chases the curveball low and outside of the strike zone, but Dollander gets him to bite. As we move into the bottom of the 6th, Christian Mena comes in for Arizona. I know Gallen allowed 4 runs in 5 innings, but other than the 4th, he pitched a really good game overall. We had 0 hits outside of the 4th inning. And, well, sure enough, Blake Sabol leads off the 6th with a single into center. There you go. 2 away now for Kyler Rodriguez. This one is put on the ground over to second. Arizona will make the play. It'll remain 4-0. Still no score change. At least we get another hit. But the offense outside of that 4th inning has given us nothing today. Luckily, we did have such a big inning, along with Chase Dollander balling. Nolan Arenado, though, sends this one into left. Lee at the wall, cannot make the play. Arenado heads for second. He is not the fastest, his speed below 20. Age really showing. But he is in scoring position with nobody out. Great opportunity for the Diamondbacks to potentially score and finally put themselves on the board. Pitch 101, Jordan Lawler hits it high and deep into left. Lee at the wall makes the play. Arenado looks to tag up. Peraza's throw to third is in time! Doubled him up! Nolan Arenado, as he slid, hurt his back. That might be the most old person thing I've ever seen. He's 37 years old. He moved around there like he was 57. Caro goes down looking. That's 7 scoreless for Chase Dollander. Have yourself a night, kiddo. The former Tennessee Volunteer pitching one of his best games as a Giant. Bottom 7, full count. Brendan Donovan draws a walk. Another base runner here for San Francisco. We'll see if they can potentially take advantage. Leody Taveras now. He sends this one into left. Not hit all that well, but a hit's a hit. 2 on, nobody out. Top of the order up. There's no way these guys mess it up. There's no way. Tommy Rogers gets the perfect pitch to hit, and he grounds it right to short. Yeah. That was supposed to be a base hit. That was supposed to be extras. That should have scored both of those runners. Meatball down the middle. I don't know how he missed it. He timed it well. It's just didn't get it off the sweet spot. Nice play there at first to get the out and keep it a 4-0 lead. Good defense by Jonathan Aranda. That'll bring us into the 8th. Dollander at 112 remains in the game. Aranda, who had the diving stop to save a run in the bottom half of the 7th, ends up striking out. Jorge Barrosa is now up for the Diamondbacks. 2-2. Hits this one into right. Donovan cannot make the play. It goes for a hit. Coming into the 8th, the leash for Dollander was 1 base runner and you're done. Well, he's let up a base runner, so he's done. It's probably time anyway. Pitch count above 120. But a phenomenal game by the young righty. 7 1/3 scoreless so far. Hopefully it'll stay that way. I mean, again, his revelation this year has been so fun to watch. He has clearly taken moving to a new team, being eligible to the Rule 5 draft. He's clearly taken it to heart, and it has been fun to watch. Ian Hamilton will come in out of the bullpen. We haven't really talked about Hamilton that much, but he has quietly been great this year. As Madrigal puts it on the ground, Donovan looks to make the play, and it'll remain 4-0. That'll bring us to the bottom of the 8th. Another early base runner for Arizona, and another scoreless inning. Stone Garrett gets a piece of this one into the gap in the left center. Completely misplayed in the outfield. Garrett's on his high horse, rounding second. Headed for third. The throw will go home. They're not even going to try to get Garrett out. A leadoff triple. And Stone now finds himself 90 feet away from home, his 3rd triple of the year. No way we don't score him, right? Blake Sabol flies this one into left. I think that should be caught, but that's going to give Stone Garrett more than enough room to score off the sacrifice. As the throw to the plate, well, there is none. Stone Garrett scores off the sacrifice hit by Blake Sabol, adding to the lead. It's 5-0. Munetaka Murakami gets a hanging pitch he likes, and he sends this one into the gap. This one's going to go for extra bases. He will make his way over to second with a double, and with 1 away, the Giants add yet another base runner. That is his 29th of the year. We'll see if we can drive him in. 2 away for Johnny Hackman off the bench. Swinging a miss on the curveball. Nice pitch in the dirt from Christian Mena. 3 innings of 1-run ball overall, pretty solid, as that'll bring us into the 9th. For right now, we're going to have Ian Hamilton look to close this one out with 1 away. Hornsworth, grounder to second, and Donovan's just not going to make the throw. What was he waiting for? An error against Donovan. 2 away now. Jordan Lawler lines it into right. John Hulia switched spots as a defensive substitution. He makes the play. And the San Francisco Giants win the first against the Diamondbacks by the final score of 5-0. We need all the wins we can get for the battle in the division and the number 1 seed. The Diamondbacks need all the wins they can get in terms of the wild card race. So overall, a strong victory for us as we take the first here at home. Arizona just did not hit the ball well. 6 hits, 1 walk. 4 of their 6 hits did go for extra bases. Give them a little credit there. As for us, our offense really was not that much better. We had the big 4th inning. Otherwise, it was not great, but pitching-wise, totally different story. 7 1/3 scoreless from Chase Dolander, his 14th win of the year. So now that we're in September, we're in this tight race. We're going to move a little bit slower, simming week by week. We swept the Diamondbacks and won the first game against the Padres. And we'll see if we can keep the good times rolling. I can't say we will confidently, because Jojo Romero's on the mound. It has been a mixed bag with him this year. Billy Adames goes for second. He is out of there! You do not want to run on Patrick Bailey. That is a major mistake. Part-time ball player, full-time sniper. So now the game comes down to Fernando Tatis Jr. behind 0-2. Got him looking on the circle change. I do not know what he was waiting for. That was right down the middle. But the Giants win at 5-4. We now lead this series 2-0. That is a 6-game win streak dating back to the series against the Marlins. We would get some good news and some bad news following that. Lucas Gilbreth, torn finger ligament, out for the year. That is not good. So we will not see him the rest of the way. We're going to call up Hayden Birdsong, though. He's having a nice year in the minors. He's pitched 1 big league game in the past. Let's see if we can get the sweep, though. Interesting game here. It's 6-5. Runners on the corners, 1 away for Will Brennan, who flies this one into center. Leody Taveras will make the play. Padres should be able to score off the sacrifice, and this game is tied at 6. The Padres have scored 3 here in this inning. The Giants had 4 in the top half. There wasn't much offense, and now everyone's exploded. Tatis swinging to miss. Good pitch by Manzanillo. He is fired up to get out of the inning. Brendan Donovan, RBI single, doing what he does best. And now Camilo Duvall looks to slam the door here in the 9th. Runner goes for second, and he is out again! The Padres are aggressive here down by 1, and it is not working out really whatsoever. So now Tommy Edman is up with nobody on base and 2 away as he flies this one into right center. Brennan Davis will call off Taveras. He makes the play, and the Giants sweep the Padres, winning at 7-6. 2 of our most important series of the year against Arizona and San Diego, and we're bringing out the brooms. 7 wins in a row. We are 86-58. I do want to look at this game here against Arizona, a Scott Rios masterclass, hoping to get the shutout into the 9th. It didn't happen. We did get a shutout here, led by Spencer Strider, 8 1/3 scoreless before Duvall got the save. So we're 28 games above 500, and we're finally building a lead in the division, 4.5 games ahead of the Dodgers, comfortably ahead of the Padres and the Diamondbacks, and this makes me think we're pretty much a lock now to make the playoffs. It's all about seeding and winning the division now as we simulate through this next week. 6 games at home against Milwaukee and San Diego. The wins are hopefully going to keep on piling away. We're up 3-2 here in the top of the 8th. 2-1 for Jason Dominguez. He lines it into left. It is caught by Tommy Rogers as Mickey Manzanillo gets out of another jam, and we would ultimately get the win in this game by the final score of 4-2 as Ian Happ would add some insurance. We won the first game of this series as well, so we are hoping to now get the sweep. That would make it 3 consecutive sweeps and 10 wins in a row if we're able to get the job done. In this game, we're tied, bottom 8, runner aboard for Stone Garrett, who has homered twice today. Party for 3, please! Stone Garrett's done it again! A hat trick! As he sends that one into right, his 3rd homer of the game. He's cooking all right. His 13th, 14th, and 15th home runs of the year. That'll make it a 6-4 lead, and that was especially impressive. First pitch of the at-bat, That was not an easy pitch to hit. I thought the pitcher located it really well. It was low. It was barely in the zone. But Stone Garrett is feeling himself. He's got the hot hand. He's been infected with the fire. There was no stopping him from getting home run number 3 as he's able to get that one into right. And he knew it was gone, sending the bat away. Exit velo of 95, 350 feet. That would end up being the difference. We win 6-4. We sweep Milwaukee. That's 3 straight sweeps and 10 wins in a row for the hottest team in Major League Baseball. Sometimes it's not about being the best team. It's about peaking at the right time. And we are peaking at the right time. Good outing from Strider. Jojo Romero allowed 2 more runs in the 8th. His ERA is now in the 7s. Yikes. He did not deserve to get the win. That'll bring us to this series against the Padres. We unfortunately lost the first game, so the winning streak is over. And it might turn into a losing streak because here in the 10th, Willy Adames sends it off the wall. Both runs score. Adames heads for third, and he is safe. Jung-Hoo Lee played far too much in, and before the ball was able to bounce into Tommy Rogers' glove, San Diego scores a pair. Ethan Salas goes down looking. That's a huge strikeout because now the Padres are going to need a base hit to get this next run. Fernando Tatis on the ground, a dribbler to third. Diaz misses it. Donovan does not. The Padres get 2. Could have been worse, but we're going to have some work to do here in the bottom half of the 10th. Let's see if we can potentially do it down by 2. So Brendan Donovan starts the inning with an RBI triple because he is him. So now the tying run is at third base with 1 away, and the winning run is up. It's Jung-Hoo Lee against Eli Morgan, who has recently come into the game for the Padres. Lee pops it up. Man, he cannot afford to do that. It'll be caught in foul territory by Willy Adames. And now we're going to need a base hit. Kyler Rodriguez was up. I thought about it, but with Munetaka Murakami off the bench, with his power, with his ability in the clutch, I figured it was the right move. Good night, San Francisco! Munetaka Murakami belts it into center. Another walk-off for the Giants. A 2-run blast for Munetaka Murakami, who has been fantastic over the last few months. His 33rd of the year. Say what you want about this team's clutch gene, but it feels like over the last couple of weeks, we've been really clutch, and it has shown in the wins and losses column. In August, we weren't as good because we weren't as clutch. Patrick Bailey takes the crown off the king, as we would lose the last game and lose the series, 13-6. Yikes, the Padres hit the piss out of the ball. We hit it well too, but we did not get a good start out of Scott Rios. And again, the inconsistency continues to be kind of a problem with him. I'm loving the flashes, and he's young. He's only 22 years old. He'll figure it out. So the Dodgers, by the way, are 82-67. They have not had a very good month of September. While we were on our long winning streak, they were on a long losing streak, and we now lead the division big. We're looking to shut things down against Baltimore. Not going to happen. We only win 1. The Dodgers, meanwhile, cut the lead a little bit to 7 games. Still not going to be easy since there's only 9 games left. Hopefully, we can now shut this down in Kansas City. 3-2, top of the 8th. Royals are up. We've got 2 runners on base, though, for Ian Happ. First pitch swinging. He's going to send this one into the gap, and that one's going to go for extra bases. Giants will tie the game. Giants will take the lead, 4-3. 2-run double for Ian Happ off of Sixto Sanchez, the veteran righty. So San Francisco's now ahead. We're going to look to add to it. 3-1 for Kyler Rodriguez. Belts this one into left. That ball will bounce off the wall. I thought it had a chance to go over. Unfortunately, not quite, but it is a double. 5-3 lead for the Giants as K-Rod delivers another big hit. We'll see if we can add to the lead any further. Oswald Peraza behind in the count 0-2. He's 0 for 2 today, and he goes down on strikes. I was hoping we would be able to win smoothly, but unfortunately, not quite the case. Greg Gomez, 2-run homer in the 9th off of Camilo Doval. We would not score the top half of the 10th, and that brings us to the bottom half. Runner on third, 2 away. Vinny Pasquantino goes down on the slider. Great pitch, great inning from Aniel de los Santos to keep the game alive, but it will be all for naught. Driscoll with a walk-off hit in the 11th, and look who got the win. John Schreiber, 3 perfect innings for the Royals. We practically DFA'd him at the beginning of the year, but since the trade, he has been fantastic. That is something else. on one hand, good for him. On the other hand, boy, don't we feel stupid. So now Camilo Doval looks to get the save here. He blew it last time, and he might have blown it again. Josh Lowe into right. Davis at the wall. It's gone! Walk-off homer for Josh Lowe. Camilo Doval has blown 2 saves in a row. Is his production starting to slip? Just a week out from the end of the regular season. We would get swept by the Royals while the Dodgers take 2 against Colorado. They're still only 5 back, which gives us a lot of breathing room, but they are catching up. Now against Arizona. Will this be the series we can do it? Munetaka Murakami pulled hamstring. We're not going to put him on the injured list because if he is, by the time we start the playoffs, we would not have him for said series. So we win the first game against Arizona. The magic number is 1. All we've got to do is win this game, and we are NL West champs. We get the job done. Fernando Molina leading the way, 5 runs in the 6th. So we have won the NL West for, what is that, a 4th consecutive season, back in the playoffs, and we clinched the number 1 seed. We were competing with the Dodgers for seeding. The Pirates have slipped. The Braves are no longer in first. The Marlins have passed them. The NL playoff picture looks really exciting. I'm happy we don't have to worry about it, and our spot is locked up with all these teams so close together. We've got 4 games left against the Diamondbacks and the Cardinals. We're not going to talk about these games too much because they're pretty unimportant. But Stone Garrett is a single shy of the cycle, so why not give it a shot here? We're up 9-1, and sure enough, belts it into right. Single for Stone Garrett. That's a cycle. A nice highlight here to end our regular season. I want to give Stone Garrett a shout out. He's been really good over these last couple of months. Started the season off slow, missed some time with injury, but he has been great. I think he's been our best player over the last 2 months. Ian Happ would hit a grand slam to give us some insurance as we end up getting the win here by the final score of 13-1. So I want to point out that the AL playoffs are pretty much decided. 5 teams have clinched. The Mariners are probably set to join soon as well. The NL, meanwhile, it's just us. The other 5 spots will be determined in the final series of the year. It's going to be really interesting. The Cubs and Pirates competing for the Central. The Braves and the Marlins competing for the East. So we would sweep the Cardinals, finishing 97-65, obviously the number 1 seed in the NL. Let's look at all the standings, shall we? The Braves do beat the new-look Marlins, so Atlanta's back in the playoffs. Pirates win the Central. We obviously win the West. The Dodgers, Cubs, and Padres get wild cards. The Marlins, Reds, and Diamondbacks just miss out. Boston, Minnesota, and Texas win their divisions. The Royals, Angels, and Mariners are the wild cards as expected. Let's go through the stats here and then our stud and dud of the year candidates. Despite the fact that we won 97 games and had the best record in baseball, there were a handful of guys who were disappointing. Rogers and Lee, not among them, but both of those guys are not playing their best ball going into the playoffs, which is not ideal. Garrett, Sable, and Donovan have been playing their best ball as of recent. Hopefully they can keep it going, especially Garrett and Donovan because they both really struggled in the playoffs. Munetaka Murakami, another example. Sandy Alcantara had a great regular season, but the rest of the rotation, again, inconsistent, as was the bullpen. Here's a look at the minor league stats. I'm not going to go into detail for our minor league stud and dud of the year candidates, but they are still in the Google form in the description where you will be able to vote for the winners and losers. So let's go through our candidates in the majors and the minors. I had a hard time figuring out who our 3 would be, but I feel pretty good about these selections that I ultimately made. So we'll start with our stud of the year. We've got 1 position player, and that guy is someone who's been able to make big plays for us. He stepped up when we're facing adversity. It's Brendan Donovan. In 132 games, 21 homers, 76 RBIs. He has been a phenomenal trade deadline acquisition for us all the way back in Season 4. Finished with a WAR of 4, and he's played his best baseball since the trade coming over from the Cardinals. He hasn't been good in the playoffs over the last couple of years. We're hoping that changes this year, but he deserves a boost. You know who else does? Chase Dollander. Not really a surprise here given how good of a season he had coming over as a Rule 5 draft pick, had a career WAR in the negatives coming into this season, and he balls out. 200 innings, 3.59 ERA, 3 WAR, and I think the advanced stats suggest that he's going to be able to keep this going over the next few seasons. Ian Hamilton is going to get the last spot. We talked about him briefly, but he's been an unsung hero for us, and I feel like he deserves his praise. he will be getting a nice pay raise in the offseason. As for the dud of the year, we're going to start with Leody Taveras. We didn't sign him to hit the ball, but he was our worst hitter this year. Still, obviously, a very good defensive player, but over the last couple of seasons, I think his offense has been disappointing. I will say, last year he was phenomenal in the playoffs, so it's hard to be too mad, but the offensive numbers are just kind of mediocre. Fernando Molina has been a huge benefiter of the stud and dud of the year system, but with him failing to meet expectations this year, we've got to throw him on the dud of the year list. He really was not all that good. I figured I would take a look at Kyle Harrison while we're here. He pitched a little better after the deal with Atlanta. Same can be said with Spencer Strider. Harrison pitched in 34 games, by the way, so he was able to stay healthy the whole year. For the last spot, we're going to go a little unconventional, but I'm going to pick JoJo Romero. He wasn't here for most of the year, but he was bad in Minnesota. He was even worse after the trade, and considering he's a 90 overall with how much he's getting paid, he should probably go down in rating, given how bad he was. So that'll wrap up the episode. Next time around, we'll start the playoffs. We've got the Dodgers or the Cubs in the NLDS. The only teams in this series we've ever played in the NLDS is the Dodgers or the Cubs. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to format the playoffs in the next episode, given that this is our abbreviated season. So I guess you'll find out when that episode is up. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Peace out.